So the big tax question is this: how do wealthy people keep their money working for them when selling their business, real estate, or other highly appreciated assets without paying hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars in tax? What if we, as business and real estate owners who have poured blood, sweat, and tears to growing our wealth, and who didn't hire expensive tax attorneys and CPAs to map out an exit strategy, knew their secrets? Instead of recreating the wheel, why can't we just model the way they deferred 30 to 50% in tax, paid off debt, funded their next business dream, and most importantly, leave a financial legacy to give to the causes we believe in most? What if their secrets weren't complicated at all, and you just need a guide who is a few steps ahead of you? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. My name is Brett Swarts, and welcome to Capital Gains Tax Solutions. Welcome, everybody, to the Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast. Hey, we believe most high net worth individuals like yourselves or friends and family you know and or people you serve, they struggle with capital gains taxes, in particular clarifying a plan for when they sell their highly appreciated assets. And not having a plan is really the enemy, because if you're not using a plan, you're probably paying more in tax than you need to. Well, I'm your host, Brett Swarts, and each episode I'm joined by some of the best financial independents and passive wealth advisors in the world. And really our goal and our focus is to share ideas, deal stories, and inspiration so together we can make complex tax deferral strategies simple. And here's the key: passive income plans achievable. Our next guest is a legend in his own right. He's the founder of Multifamily Investing Academy. He's an attorney. He has bought and sold and managed over 20,000 multifamily units. And he specializes really in investment real estate. Beyond his experience, he's an author. He has his own podcast, a really successful podcast. In fact, over 11,000 downloads last year alone in his first year. What I also love about this guest most of all is his enthusiasm to give back and help others create and preserve more wealth through multifamily investing. And also that he lives in the state of our founding fathers, Massachusetts. I want you to welcome with me Charles Dobens. Charles, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. And I appreciate you putting me in the same sentence as the founding fathers, and not just chronologically.
Well, that's the most important question. How does it feel to be from the great state of Massachusetts, Charlie? How does that feel?
I am not from Massachusetts. Don't ever say that. I'm sitting, I don't have my wallet here with me, but you see my new driver's license. So I'm born and raised in the greatest state in the country, New Hampshire. I love New Hampshire. And I moved to Massachusetts, raised my family down there. And then once Donald Trump became president, he forced me back up to New Hampshire. And so, we're talking about tax planning. So I am now a New Hampshire resident, thanks to Donald Trump.
Tell us why.
And,
what happened? What
so
was
I
the
have
change from Massachusetts to New Hampshire? What was the difference?
Oh my gosh. Well, it had to do with the high property taxes were no longer deductible, over a certain number. And I have a pretty nice house down in Duxbury, and it's very valuable. And I was going to lose that deduction. And then also 6.5% on my state income tax. I gave myself a 6.5% raise. And let me tell you something, that's huge. And this gets back to why you and I are talking, is because people who have gained a lot of net worth, who have a lot of assets, understand that it's during the accumulation phase, when they're earning and when they're building their net worth, and then they move into the preservation phase. And part of the preservation phase is understanding the implications of the tax man on everything that you do. I mean, every time you go back and you look at any type of expert guru, not multifamily, but money guru, they're always talking about taxes. I'm sorry, but I didn't understand this when I was a lot younger. I understand a lot better now that you always have to take the tax man into consideration whenever you do anything, especially in preserving your assets. So that's why I'm up here in New Hampshire for one of the reasons. So,
and for our listeners who don't know you, Charles, give us a little bit more about your background and kind of your current focus, especially as it pertains to helping people create and preserve more wealth.
Yeah. Okay. So my background was, my family Started out in the insurance business. My dad had been an insurance agent for 57 years. I did it for about 3 years out of college and absolutely hated it. I was like the worst salesman in the world. As they say, I couldn't close a barn door if I was tied to it in a windstorm. So I realized that I'm never going to be able to compete with the old man because he's the consummate salesman. So what I did was I went to law school. And when I got out of law school, I went back in the insurance business, but in a different niche. I went into a very narrow niche of the insurance business. I ended up owning a benefits administration company. Worst job in the world. Worst thing you could do. I just absolutely hated that business. But I owned and operated the company for about 10 years. I had about 35 employees working for me, and I was putting myself in an early grave. I was one of those, broke entrepreneurs. I had 35 employees, but sometimes I didn't take a paycheck, and believe me, there are a lot of people listening to this who understand exactly what I'm talking about. And so I told my wife, I said, I can't do this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. She says, what do you want to do? I said, I've always wanted to own apartments. And she says, let's do it. So we burnt the ships and I sold the business. And, this was about 10, 15 years ago. I just went out there and started buying apartments, and we built up a beautiful portfolio of apartments. The market crashes. I keep some, I lose some. And I can tell you something, that's one of the things that I advise people is like, don't take advice from someone that hasn't been through a cycle. Because if you haven't been through a cycle, you don't know what it's like. Brett, I'm 72 years old, so I've been through many, many cycles. So,
speaking of that, what cycle? Where do you feel like we're at with this cycle, with the multifamily investing and where values are at?
Before we get to that, why don't you tell me how good I look for 72? Come on, Brett. Jeez,
when
man.
you said 72, Charlie, I didn't even think you were telling. I thought you were just fibbing there. You don't look a day over 61, 59.
Thanks, pal.
59.
God. Yeah, you're not helping yourself, pal. You're not helping yourself. So, hey, listen, I love this topic. I try to figure out what's going on with this market all the time. I actually was doing some research on the internet. There's a senior economist from the Federal Reserve Bank out of Kansas City. His name is Jared Rappaport, and I recommend if anybody is interested in finding out more information, just Google his name. And he has written a lot of documents on what's going on in the multifamily economy, and he's talked about it back from 2013 all the way up. I actually I reached out to him just the other day to say, hey, I got to have you on my podcast. Can you be on my podcast? And he says, I can't because of your investment nature of your podcast. I can't be seen as giving investment advice. And I said, all right, well, I'm just going to keep reading your articles because they're fantastic. But I love, and I had a great podcast with a banker on just the two of us were just hashing it out on what's going on in today's market. Okay. All right, Brett, let's talk about this. I have no idea. I've never seen a market like this before. It is so unique. When you go back to 2008, it was easy to see what went wrong back then. We don't have those same factors going on. As a matter of fact, we have entirely different. It's an entirely different world today than it was back then. You look at that, the Amazon impact. Do you know what that is? The Amazon impact? It's about how these prices remain ridiculously low, keeping inflation low because everybody can find everything at an incredibly low price. And that drives a lot of the inflation issues within the marketplace. If you start looking at multifamily, here's the one, in my estimation, this is the one thing that is so magnificently different between then and now, then being 2008 and now. Do you know what the one thing is, Brett?
Tell me, what is it? I don't know. What's the biggest difference?
It's student debt. Student debt is changing this economy like you can't imagine. My kids are not rushing out to buy a house like I did when I first, was out of college. They are just living their life. They're apartment dwellers, and they have no issue with that. My sister she and her cardiologist husband lived down in the Seaport district of Boston. And she says, I'm homeless, but I'm not I'm houseless, but I'm not homeless. She said, I will never own a house again. And that's how a lot of people are thinking. And then there's a new dynamic that they're talking about, is that the divorce rate is skyrocketing for people over 50. And so those people are now coming into the rental market. So there's so many things that are entirely different about this economy compared to back then. And so what you always have to think about is, no matter what is going on with the market, you always have to boil it down to the basic essential, which is, where are your customers? What do your customers want in any business? That's what you always have to think about. And in our case, the customers, the demand for our product has never been higher. The customers want our product. We can't build them fast enough.
And they're too expensive to build too, right? I mean, not only can you can't build them fast enough, but it's just the cost of labor, the lack of qualified
subs, finding the subs,
contractors,
yep,
you name it, and the tape to get through all of that.
All right, well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that for a second, because what I am thinking about, and I'm actually doing the research now, because I've got kind of selling. I've got two of my biggest complexes under contract right now, and I've got another one that's kind of a development deal. My focus, because of the numbers that I'm looking at, because of the high demand, and we're looking at a workforce vacancy rate on average of about, I'm sorry, not workforce, but Class A, of about 5%. But we're looking at a workforce vacancy rate of less than 1.5%. And so being here in Southern New Hampshire, I love Southern New Hampshire. And one of the nicest things about Southern New Hampshire is we're right next door to Massachusetts. Mm-hmm. And it's a lot cheaper to live in New Hampshire than it is Massachusetts. So you've got a great draw just by being right there. So I've had my VA go out, and we're building all the models from one community, 9 communities over to the coast, the seacoast. And we're looking at every single workforce housing property in that area. We're figuring out what the cap rates are, what the land costs are, what the assessed values are, how much the taxes are. We are putting together a model to know which one of these 9 communities is going to be the easiest one for us to get into, because we want to build. And we might be looking at modular housing. And modular housing might solve those problems that you just talked about, but it all has to be done, and it all boils down. I've talked to a lot of my friends who are developers. We have to steal the land, and that's how we have to find the deals. We have to steal the land. So let's
walk through that for a second. Just get a little tactical here. So you're selling now, and part of the show is capital gains tax solution. So in the past, how have you deferred capital gains taxes or eliminated it or mitigated some of that, especially as it pertains to trading? It looks like you're going to trade out of multifamily, move it to maybe a little bit different segment, maybe buy some land, maybe develop. Walk us through how you're going to navigate those hurdles.
Well, some of those things have to do, it's going to be a tough structure because of how I own the other properties, and depending upon, because some of them are in trusts, some of them are family assets. So, they're going to go into those, remain in those trusts. So that's how I've protected myself for those assets. Going forward, I'm telling you right now, was it Carnegie that said, own nothing but control everything? That's pretty much how I am going to control this and build this, start doing these deals. We're looking to, I'm going to buy the land for cash. I'm going to, and then, we'll start to, build upon that. And I really, see it as, if we can figure out the numbers, if we can get the numbers to work, and the jury is still out on that. I'm not going to sit here and say, I know I can make it work. No. If I can't make it work, I'm not getting involved. I mean, I'm like you always say, I'm 72 years old. Thanks, Brett. I can't make any more mistakes. So if the numbers don't work, we'll move on to something else. We'll find another source. But, that's really where I see the huge opportunity being, getting in and part of the problem with multifamily right now is in such high demand, you can't find deals. New investors are having the hardest time finding deals. Well, let's build them. Let's build the deals. So that's that's where we're at.
Thank you for sharing. That's great wisdom and great insight. So shifting a little bit, Charlie, I'm curious. I think we're all given certain gifts in life, right? And maybe some people call it a superpower, right? But I'm curious, who was Charlie before his success? Who was Charlie growing up? What was the superpower you were given, and how's that shaped how you help others today?
Okay, two things. First off is I always knew I would end up doing this. Even as a little, starting off in the insurance business at 22 years, I knew that wasn't the right thing for me. I knew that what I would be doing is exactly real estate investing, having a specialty in my particular field that I could get out there and help other people and teach other people how to do it correctly. I've always known that my life would end up doing this, and I absolutely love it. It's first time in my life I jump out of bed, can't wait to get started working. So that is part. I got to tell you, I was lucky that I always had something in the back of my head saying, "This is not what I'm meant to do. There's something else for me out there," and that's part of the superpower. The other superpower is that having great people around me that have really enabled me to have a vision. I love telling the story about when I was a fresh out of college New York life agent. I had a manager. His name was Tim Miller. And I'll never forget that I asked him, he was a very successful agent in the field, and he came out of the field to teach guys like me how to be agents. And I said, Tim, why would you do that? I mean, why would you want to go into management? Why wouldn't you want to stay out there and be your own boss and the whole thing? And he goes, and I'll never forget what he said. He said, Charlie, I get a lot of I feel great at helping you succeed. And as a 22-year-old kid, Brett, I thought that was the stupidest thing I'd ever heard in my life. What a ridiculous statement to make. Now, fast forward 30 years, I'm like, you know what? I get it. I really enjoy helping every one of my students succeed in this business. That's where so having those two things, I think were very formative for me. It made me who I am right now. And hey, thanks everybody.
I think that's so powerful, Charlie. Yeah, we can get a lot of stuff for ourselves, but at a certain point, it's not lasting, right? You got to be able to give back, and I think that's part of what marriage does to help you to give back, and it's definitely what kids do, because you got to give, and especially when they're young. I have 5 kids right now, and I'm experiencing this. I used to be
Do you really?
Yeah, 5 kids.
You have 5 kids?
I used to be the single guy, right? The single guy growing up, and especially boys. I think boys in particular in teenage years, it's kind of about themselves, and then you mature a little bit and you realize life is not evolve around you, and then you get married and you got to give away, and it's a wonderful thing. And then you have kids, and it's not only do you give away, but you sacrifice even more, right? Because they literally are just babies and then kids, and they're learning for the first time. But the act of giving and of yourself and loving is the most rewarding part, even though it's a lot of work. So I think that makes perfect sense. If you can give more away, the more you're going to receive.
I'll tell you, I have 4 kids, and you have 5. And once my wife found out what was causing it, she stopped doing it. So just tell your wife it's not the wine. Just keep drinking the wine, honey. It's not the wine.
It's
okay.
The wine. Yeah, no, yeah.
It's not the wine.
It's something's going on. Yeah. So
shifting. I gotta tell you, just to talk to you about. Okay, so we got on one of those. We call it the Dobs squad. It's all the kids are on it and the family's on it. And so my youngest son, who's a sophomore in college, he's down on spring break, and he's at Hollywood Studios right now, and they're all telling him, go to Harry Potter, go to him. He goes, I don't have the money, I can't go to Harry Potter. And it's like once in a lifetime, because my other son works on Broadway. He actually worked on the Harry Potter show on Broadway, and he says I don't have any money and I can't get out there. And I had just given him a credit card. before he left for emergency sakes, I said, okay, Sam, listen, if it's a once in a lifetime thing, go ahead and use the credit card and go enjoy yourself. And so you talk about giving, man, it's just never ending.
It's never ending. But now you have a memory.
I don't even know what I just gave away.
Yeah, now you have a memory and a gift for Harry Potter. I love that. Love that. And Broadway too. That's really
I don't even
cool
know
too.
what
Some
Harry
talented
Potter
kids.
is. Yeah, no, he is. He's amazing. He went to Tisch, NYU Tisch. He's does on the production design side. He was tapped to go help on the Harry Potter, the new Harry Potter Broadway show. He's also tapped. Steven Spielberg is coming out with a Broadway show on West Side Story, and so he just got done working that. Now he works for Netflix. What these kids do nowadays, I mean, they don't work at jobs. They do projects. Like everything is project based, and that's I said, why don't you get a job at a company like Netflix? Be there for the next 40 years and get a pension. Like they have no idea what I'm talking about. They think I'm Archie Bunker.
It's a whole new world. So getting back to some of the practical, by the way, everybody, you can find Charlie or Charles Dobens. He likes to go by Charlie at multifamilyinvestingacademy.com. So Charlie, talk to us about that. How does multifamilyinvestingacademy.com help people create and preserve more wealth?
Okay. So we have one product. The MFIA is the big thing, and within that we sell one product, and that's coaching with me. That's called the Owner Forum, and my Owner Forum is the greatest group of students. Got about 150 people in the program. They are all friends with everybody else. Everybody connects with everybody else. We all help each other get across the finish line, and that's what my job is. Is that I am one of these gurus, but every one of my students has my cell phone number. They text me, they Slack me, they call me whenever they need me. I don't have regularly scheduled coaching calls. If you need me, you call me, and that's how I operate. But I make sure that everything you do is done correctly. You analyze the deal correctly. We're going to make an offer. We're going to draft the offer the right way. We're going to get a deal under contract. The contract is going to be my contract and written to protect you. I'm going to help you find the money. I'm going to help you get over all the roadblocks to getting that deal across. And as I tell my students, I say, you're only going to need me for the first 2 deals. And then after that, you and I are just friends. And that's how it works. And it's a great, it's not one of these $50,000 coaching programs. For years, it's been nothing more than a monthly fee. That's it. No contract. Now it's a 1-year contract, but it was a monthly fee. If it wasn't the right time for you, you just said, hey, you got to cancel. I'll be back soon. And we just shook hands and parted friends. That's it. And that's the way I want to run my business. It's nice. It's beautiful.
It sounds beautiful, and it's
you
flexible.
Were on my call.
And was that?
You were on my call. You were a great guest. You had everybody going. Every Monday night, we do a Monday night live call with all the students come on. And Brett, that's where Brett and I met. I said, oh my gosh, I got to get Brett on my Monday night call. So that was fun.
We were able to talk about 1031 exchanges and the deferred sales trust and other ways to escape feeling trapped by capital gains tax. And it was a wonderful call, and student participation and questions. And by the way, that is on YouTube for those who want to watch that. It's got a number of views. Just go and search capital gains tax solutions on YouTube, and then search in there. There'll be a big video. It's one of the largest ones, and it has Charles on there as well. So yes,
cool. Well, that's awesome.
So, what are some questions that, if someone's interested in joining multifamilyinvestingacademy.com, what are some of the top 3 questions that they should be asking?
Do I really get to talk to you? Let me tell you, I just had a call like with these types of questions. The guy was an analyst, and he had 10 questions that he wanted to go through. And I was like, the same questions I get all the time. Do I really talk to you, or do you pass me off to one of your coaches? No. I am the guy you talk to because I'm a lawyer. I'm not your lawyer. So we're going to work with your lawyer, but I still have to run my law firm like I'm a lawyer. And if you needed to speak to your attorney, you have to be able to pick up the phone and call your attorney. And that's how we structure it. So that is one of the biggest things. People are amazed that they actually work with me. I review everyone's documents. I review everyone's contracts because I don't want you sending out something wrong. Can I help you get the money? Yes, all my students have access to up to $50,000 for earnest money. It's structured like a hard money loan, so you can make offers and not have to worry about, like, where am I going to come up with the earnest money? I got you covered. But then also we have, what we call the equity assist program, where, you can go out there and depending upon the size of the deal, we can get you the funds you need, or we'll go out to the marketplace to find you the funds you need for the equity. No guarantee. If your deal is a bad deal, nobody's going to touch it anyway. But I do everything I possibly can to get my students across the finish line. And then, the other thing is, the access to everyone else. This can be a very lonely business. You're out there by yourself looking for deals. When you come into my program, my owner forum, you're connected immediately with every other student of mine. And, as some of my students work together on the same deals, some of them invest in other students' deals. It's a great group of people. That's the thing I love about multifamily investing, is that the people who are in it are such nice people. It's not like insurance, which is like backstabbing, cutthroat, conniving business. I mean, we're talking multifamily. Everybody the guy you're talking to today could be your partner tomorrow. He could be your investor tomorrow. You could be in his deal. He could be in your deal. You just never burn bridges in this business. So
I think that's wonderful. Thanks for sharing.
I love it.
That hands-on and that ability to have access to you, and then to share in the community to raise funds. I think those are all super valuable.
Yeah.
So share with us the top 3 wealth secrets you have learned. So you've been in this business for so long. If you had to narrow it down to 1 or 2, it could be 3, but even just 1 or 2, what are the top 1, 2, or 3 wealth secrets you have learned?
Okay. And one of them is going to be like things not to do. So the first thing is understand the power of the cap rate. Multifamily investing is unique to all other types of investing because we have what I call the power of the cap rate. And that cap rate is what makes millionaires. And when you understand how that cap rate works and how it makes millionaires, you will understand multifamily. And that's why you see, I don't know if you've heard the, Than Merrill and the Fortune Builders are out there on everyone's podcast, on everyone's, iHeartRadio. They're always advertising about, hey, we're coming to your town to teach you how to, fix and flip houses so that you can build wealth and have lasting income through income producing property. I thought to myself, Than, what the heck are you doing? You're out there telling people how to flip homes. But you know that the ultimate goal is cash flowing property, because that's where the millionaires are made. Millionaires are not made from the single family fix and flip side. They're made by holding the assets, and it's all about the power of the cap rate. And that is I teach that. I was down in Orlando. I spoke at MREX conference, and they said, hey, can you come down and speak for 45 minutes? I said, sure, I'll do it. And they said, what's your topic? I said, power of the cap rate. And when I was done, you should see people get it. And like, wow, I have to be in multifamily, because no other business has the power of the cap rate. So that's the number one thing, is understanding that about multifamily. The second thing is, and this is something I cannot stress enough, bad partnerships, stay away from them. Just don't do it. Here's what I do in my program. And I did this, I just rolled this out. I did this because I saw so many new investors going down that path. And folks, the reason why I'm an expert on this is because I have violated many of these rules already. So I'm teaching you from experience of what not to do. So what my students do is that, I'll hear, they'll come to me and they say, hey, I went to this guru's program on how to find private money. And I met 400 other partners, and this one guy and I really hit it off, and we want to start a partnership to go out and do these things. And I realized they haven't even asked the most basic questions of why they need to be in a partnership. Why is this guy the right guy? So what I did is, in my program, when you sign on into your membership site, you have every product I've ever created is there. I've got over 20 different products. My newest product is a memorandum of understanding product, where the students go on, they click on the program, they book a time with me, a half an hour time, and then when they book that time, they then complete a questionnaire that basically says who's party A, who's party B, you know, what are they bringing to the table, you know, what conversations have you had so far. They map out exactly what they want this agreement or partnership to look like, and then they send it to me. Then we have a coaching call on this particular document where I go through it and I ask them the tough questions. And, you know, it's tough love, because it's got to be tough love today, because it's going to be tough love tomorrow. That's for sure.
It's like pre-engagement counseling, Charlie. You're saying, hey, you're about to get married in this business relationship. Before you get married, it's not even pre-marriage counseling. It's pre-engagement before you even get into getting engaged to do this deal that you're going to do.
It's pre-engagement. Yeah. It's pre-engagement where all we're talking about is the divorce.
Yeah.
Because it's like, we know it's going to happen. Like, let's see if we even should be in this relationship together. That's the first thing. And so once we get it all figured out, then I draft a memorandum of understanding, and both parties get it. They sign off on it, and they know what they're into it for.
I think that's wonderful. I think you can monetize that just to about every business professional, not just folks who are in your multifamily investing academy. You know, that someone like who has your background and your experience, that seems invaluable to have. Just a little plug there. That for those who are listening, think about that. Call Charlie. Maybe he'll make an exception. You'll pay him a little bit more.
Yep. Yeah. No, I agree with you. That's I've already thought about, like, how can I get this out to everybody else? I really just want to focus on multifamily. I mean, but this, like you said, this MOU is really what everybody needs. Whenever you're in a situation like that, put it in writing. Put it in writing, because you'll be amazed at how short everyone's memory gets at the closing table. So put it in writing. Now, the MOU is not a binding document. We can make it binding, but it's a stepping stone to the next document. And, you know, it gets, you know, you get to find out whether you're ever even going to get to that next document.
Excellent.
So
what's the last one? The third secret. Do you have a third one for us?
Oh, no, you said two, maybe three. You didn't. You kind of gave me a wishy-washy on the third one. Okay,
well,
so
the first two are so good, Charlie.
Okay.
I just, you know, leave our listeners hanging here if you don't have a third.
Oh, dang you. Dang you, Brett. Dang you. Okay. Power of the cap rate. Okay. Here's another one. Thing I like about multifamily investing is that it has 5 ways to make money. There are 5 ways that you earn income in multifamily, and no other business is like that. When I do my speech, I always compare it to a Subway franchise. Like, how do you make money in a Subway franchise? You gotta sell a sub for more than what you can make it for. That's the only way you make money in a Subway franchise. In multifamily, you've got the cash flow or the profit, which doesn't happen every month. You know, we all know that. There's the forced appreciation, which is what we call when we drive the NOI. That's the power of the cap rate. Those first 2 things help to make the millionaires. You've got forced appreciation, the mortgage pay down, where you've got 100 people in your units paying off your bank a little bit every single month. That's why I don't like interest-only loans. If you got 100 people writing you checks, you might as well have them pay off your notes. Then you've got the acquisition fee, which is, if you're syndicating the deal, you know, you can build in a little vig for yourself, because it takes a lot of work to put a deal together. You should be compensated for it. And then the 5th one, which is my favorite because it's consistent, is the property management fee. Now, you hear a lot of these gurus out there saying, oh, you know, outsource your property management, have some third party do it. Listen, all the successful owner operators that I've trained, that I work with, they are all owner operators of their property management company, and they keep that 5%. And as you build your portfolio, as you build your net worth, you're going to keep that money, because that money is what's going to allow you to quit your job. It's going to allow you to pay your mortgage, pay your kids' tuitions, live nicely, because all those other 4 or 5 different, those other 3 or 4 different ways to make money, they may not always work. Sometimes we get into deals and we don't make money, but that money coming off of, you take your first nickel off of every dollar before anyone else gets it. And that's how you're going to keep a nice lifestyle in this business. So
Well,
and no other, compare that to a Subway franchise. No, a Subway franchise, you don't make money that way.
Charlie, those are three powerful wealth secrets, and I appreciate you sharing that. So we're going to wrap it up with our last question here. And this one is centered around how you personally, Charlie, how do you stay centered in your values and encourage to drive to new heights and reach new goals?
Well, I tell you, it starts off, every morning. I have a system for what I do every single morning. I even, as I'm a pilot, so I work on checklists. I, check off everything that I'm supposed to do every morning. I get out there. I'm always reading. I'm always trying to better myself. I manage my time incredibly well. I have my right here in front of me. This is my focus planner. This is where I keep my goals, and I see them every single day. I am constantly, I've never been more focused in my life on achieving my objectives and just living a great life. I take the time to grow myself personally, spiritually, and physically. I look at, as I got older, you got to work harder at it and just staying in shape. But I'm part of why I'm successful, or I feel I'm successful in doing this, is because I am so focused. It really is all about, I love what I do and I want to keep growing it. I don't want to lose this. Listen, Brett, I've been in situations where I've lost it all. I've lost it all like twice. And I've now got a great business and I don't want to lose it. I want to build it up nicely for my kids so that they have that they can go to the Harry Potter thing whenever they want to. But the beautiful thing about it is my goal in setting up the Multifamily Investing Academy and the owner forum was I wanted to live a life like my father's. And my father was a very successful insurance agent, and he worked 7 days a week. I said, Dad, why don't you take a day off? He goes, why? Every day is just like the other. I love what I do. And I don't want to work 7 days a week, but the guy just loved what he did. It was never work for him. And, that's the way I feel. Every morning I wake up, I grab my phone, like, hey, who contacted me? Who do I have to reach out today? What do I get to do today? I'm so blessed. I'm so fortunate in my life now. And but I also know that it could all disappear tomorrow. But that's life. You just gotta realize we're all working towards the same goal. Yeah. Death.
Not take it for granted, right? Keep driving ahead, and all the people you can help. And you mentioned that focus planner.
Yeah.
What people might be curious which one you use. So where did you get it?
Okay, so about 2 to 3 years ago, I went to Michael Hyatt's BYE, Best Year Ever. And I kind of drank the Kool-Aid a little bit, but I got to tell you, I did what he told me to do, and I had my best year ever. Mm-hmm. And it's I kind of built off of that. Then he came out with his best year ever planner. You see this. My girls and my wife are doing the Rachel Hollis thing. Everybody's onto Rachel Hollis. This works for me. It's amazing how much I can accomplish and stay focused using this. It's the right system for me, folks. If you don't have a system, figure out why. Figure out what's going to work for you. Make sure it's all about remaining focused, because at the end of the year, I remember, I don't know about you, Brett, but back when I was right out of college and stuff, all these guys would come with their goal planners and what have you. And I remember one time cleaning out my office and pulling out these goal books, and for years worth of goal books, looking at all these amazing goals I had put down in January, and none of them have been accomplished. None of them. And I thought, man, I just don't want to be that guy. I don't want to, there's a reason why I put these down as goals. What can I do to make this work? and it's you. It's entirely you. Nobody else. You've got to be focused on this, and that's what I'm doing now. Is I'm every day.
Excellent.
Every
That's
day.
Full Focus
Morning,
Planner. That's
evening.
Michael Hyatt. Look him up and you'll find him. I've also
Yeah.
used and read his books.
See, look at all these products. Look at all these products that you're shilling for right now, Brett. You can talk about monetizing your thing. You got click the button below
we don't make any
Brett
money
Swarts
from Michael Hyatt or
Full
Full
Focus
Focus
Planner.
Planner, but it's just these are neat tools that we want to share with one another.
You should.
So they
are very good tools.
Well, that wraps up our show, Charlie. Any last words for the audience before we let you go?
Well, first off, I just want to apologize to you for all of our false starts before. They were all my fault. It was, we were going through a crazy time in my business, and I'm so glad that we were finally able to make it work. And that this has been a lot of fun. I liked you when I had you on, man. For those of you, I know Brett mentioned it, but you got to go to his YouTube page and watch the video of the two of us, because I have students that are still like reeling from what they learned from Brett. So you gotta go check that out. You definitely gotta check that out. Good
Thanks
stuff.
for that plug. And for everyone, in case you're wondering, that's our deferred sales trust niche. We specialize on helping people escape feeling trapped by capital gains taxes and not having to do a 1031 exchange. And so learn more at capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. And I want to thank our listeners again for listening to another episode of Capital Gains Tax Solutions. As always, we believe most high net worth individuals and those who help them struggle with clarifying their capital gains tax deferral options. Hopefully you learned a little bit from Charlie here of how to actually mitigate, build cash flow. We didn't dive into depreciation, but that's a great way to offset any cash flow that comes in, which is a tax savings there. Not having a clear plan is the enemy, and the best thing to do is have a proven tax deferral strategy, again, such as the deferred sales trust or the 1031 exchange, to help you grow your wealth. We look forward to connecting with you on the next episode. In the meantime, go make some great things happen.
You have just listened to another information-packed episode of Capital Gains Tax Solutions with Brett Swarts. We hope you enjoyed today's show and found it helpful. Visit capitalgainstaxsolutions.com to access the show notes and to access more resources. Don't forget to leave a review and join us again next time.